that's the whole tragic point, my friends. What would I do if I could suddenly feel and to know once again?
Action News Network is an Aboriginal American media network. As such, we are protected under the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People, or DRIP, Articles 8, 14, and 16. Action News Network is allowed to provide Aboriginal news and media content on non-Indigenous media platforms free of oppressive censorship. Any breach of this protection is a breach of international law.
What would I do if I could reach inside and to know how it feels to say, all that I have inside me.
Better turn around now. It's so
we were riding down this block and these white people start saying, "Get out of here, niggas. You know, get out of my neighborhood. Don't come to this neighborhood." Then they start hitting on her. Throwing rocks and everything else. Throwing rocks. We were in their neighborhood.
We went on a bike hike to McDonald's. We didn't mean to bother anybody. We saw a parade, we saw a gathering, so we went down there to see what was happening. All right. I mean, we didn't bother anybody. We weren't looking for trouble. I never even know people around here were like that. I've never experienced anything like this in my life.
What happened to you?
Nothing happened to me, but this little boy, short boy about my size, or little short, had picked up a rock, and he was in the front of all these tall honkies. But he threw the rock. He tried to hit my sister, but he almost hit me about that much away from me. And I was sure what she had. It hit me with that rock. I would pick up the rock right next to me and hit him right dead in his face. They always say niggas are doing everything. They always say we're doing everything, right? Every time the white people come down, but we don't push them out their neighborhood and throw rocks and start hitting them. We don't bother the white people around our neighborhood, but when we get in the white neighborhood, they just push us out.
Yeah. Everybody was upset. They said we're nothing, you know, they were a piece of dirt, dogs. I mean, that's the way you treat an animal. I mean, God, we're human beings. You don't treat other people like that. It's just wrong. Black, white, I don't care. A person is a person. Skin should have no bearing on how you treat a person. That's just wrong.
I hate their goddamn guts.
I can't say that I hate them. I can't say that it's totally the kids' fault. I mean, I'm sure their parents had some bearing on the way they feel and everything else. I think it's just the system. I don't know. I can't say that I hate them because I don't hate them.
Do you forgive them?
No. No. Can't take back no hurt. But they gonna always do that. They always spit on us like we some dogs. They always gonna back on us. Ain't nothing gonna change.
What would I do?
Reparations. So let's talk about reparations. But do we really know what reparations mean? Let's check out the etymology of reparation. It's noun, late 14th century. Reconciliation, from Old French, reparation, and directly from late Latin, reparationem. Nominative, reparatio, act of repairing, restoration. Noun of action from past, participle, stem of Latin from reparare, restore, repair. See repair. We're gonna see that in a minute. Meaning act of repairing or mending, is attested from circa 1400. Reparations, compensation for war damage owed by the aggressor, is attested from 1921 with reference to Germany from French reparations. So basically it's telling you it's monies or some kind of right doing for an act of war, and it's a damage owed by the aggressor, right? So, was there a war that our people lost that we're not really being told about? Well, if you're into what we're into, Aboriginal truth, American truth, world truth, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because our people are prisoners of war. And people like me, Dane Calloway, Atachi this one, Big Sister Phoenix Moon, been telling you this for the longest, and it's right here. Again, we're gonna look at where this word comes from. Repair, right? We all know what repair means. To mend, put back in order. Put back in order. It's another keyword that should be buzzing, right? From Old French, reparer, repair, mend. From 12th century, from Latin repare, restore, put back in order. From again, see pare, make ready, prepare. From pie, root, pare, to produce, procure. So we gotta look into some other words too. Let's look at nigger, right? 1786, Scottish, Northern England dialect. All of this shit right here, right? So we come down here, and it says, from the earliest usage, it was the term that carried with all obliquity and contempt and rejection which whites have inflicted on blacks. But as we want to see later, the word nigger is not just used for African people, unless African is a cold word for just dark-skinned people of the land. You know what I'm saying? Because they were calling motherfuckers in Australia and New Zealand and Papua New Guinea niggers too. Nigger is more English in form than Negro. It was formerly, and to some extent still is, used without intent, but its use is now confined to colloquial or illiterate speech, which is generally conveys more or less of contempt. Alright, you're a fool nigger, and the worst day's work Pa ever did was to buy you, said Scarlett Solie. There she thought I said nigger, and mother wouldn't like that at all. So I'm going with the wind, which I know a lot of older black folks love that fucking show, but whatever. It was also applied by English colonists to dark-skinned natives peoples in India, Australia, and Polynesia, just like I said. So, in one term, they want you in the beginning, because they know black people got a real low threshold and attention span for learning shit and for reading. So you first come on here and you see the first paragraph. It basically tells you it's about African inferiority, but you read down a little bit further and it tells you this is a word they use to describe any dark-skinned Aboriginal of any land. Alright? I mean, do I have to zoom in on that shit or something? You know, it was applied to, you know, people in India who come here and call us niggas. You know what I'm saying? But usually those are the mulatto Hindustanis. I hate to call them Indians. They're Hindustanis. One here is the contemptuous term nigger. It's still applied to natives by most. By those who should know better, especially by youths, just come from home and somewhat intoxicated by Southern power. India Revisit in the Contemporary Review, July 1886. So this was a contemptuous term in India in 1886. You know, damn near 100. I mean, nearly 100 years before I was even fucking born. You know, so. And another funny word, the word thug comes from thuggy, which is, you know, to describe Hindustani robbers and who was out there like robbing, you know, them colonists and traders and shit out there in Hindustan. So Negra, damn Negra, you know, it was just the pronunciation in American South, as you can see here. I'm not gonna read this whole thing for time. Negro, member of the black-skinned race of Africa, You know, again, they always want you to hit that Africa first, but you know, they was calling all of these dark-skinned people wherever they landed at niggers and negras and negroes and shit like that. But they always want to put that Africa there because more than likely, the only people that's going to really come on here and really start looking for shit, like a Hindustani is not looking up the word negro and nigger and all this other shit. Why? Because it doesn't apply to them anymore. All right, and the only people that still holds these words as endearment are us, and therefore they know who their target audience is. And as much as I love the etymology dictionary, I love it when it comes to learning the root of words and stuff. But when they want to tell you the history of words, especially American words, that's when they get a little funny, and we'll see that a little bit later on. All right. You know, but what I wanted to show you for real though, but remember the blacks race Africa. Okay, we get over that shit. 1550s from Spanish and Portuguese negro, black, Latin nigrum, nominative nigger, black, dark, stable, sable, dusky. Applied to the night sky, storm, complexion, figuratively gloomy, unlucky, bad, wicked, according to Devon, a word of unknown etymology. Right. So, you know, as we talk about how different generations go by and we become different people, you know what I'm saying? We always turn into something else. Meaning African American vernacular, things language as spoken by U.S. blacks is from 1704, French nigre, 16th century borrowing from the Spanish negro. Older words were moor and blackamoor. Okay, so moor. This is funny because they basically telling you that the older English words for black people were moor and blackamoor. You know what I'm saying? And then you got Ethiopian in there too. You know, these Ethiopians, you know, the other day, I don't give a fuck if you're Eritrean or whatever, bitch ass niggas and shit like that who try to come on here trolling. You know what I'm saying? Cause I called Tiffany Haddish fucking dumbass out and shit like that. But these Ethiopians came on here talking shit and stuff like that. They not the same and shit. Whatever, man. I don't care no more. Yo, the problem that go on in Africa is because y'all cause your own fucking problems. All right. How can we have how can Pan-Africanists here talk about Pan-African and the African diaspora, all this other bullshit, when them niggas in Africa can't even get their shit together, and they basically asking for the Chinese to come fucking colonize them. I mean, again, I'm still fighting my colonizers right now. These niggas is the white people who basically left Africa and shit, left it in shambles, but they left Africa, and y'all niggas want the Chinese to come in and colonize y'all. I cannot be, I didn't descend from that. I didn't. I'm sorry. Y'all got your own problems over there. You know what I'm saying? If y'all was a little bit cooler and shit, I would definitely love to fucking try to help y'all. But you know what I'm saying? Y'all got all the answers and shit. Even though y'all running to my country to come in and steal from me and talk shit. But you know, and let me keep moving. More now. North African Berber, one of the race dwelling in Barbary. We all know about Barbary, right? Sia Duke of Tears, Alex Will. You know what I'm saying? They'll give you real good lessons on Barbary. I might do something on Barbary and Tartary again. You know, I got a few videos on Tartaria if you don't know. From Old French, more. From medieval Latin, moris. From Latin, moris, inhabitant of Mauritania. Roman Northwest Africa, you know, region now corresponding to northern Algeria and Morocco. From Greek morals, all right, subjective. As you can see, it says also applied to the Arabic conquerors of Spain, being a dark people in relation to Europeans. By their name in the Middle Ages was a synonym for Negro. Later, 16th, 17th century, being the nearest Muslims to Western Europe, it was used in the community of Muslims, Persians, Arabs. See, the word Moor was given to the mixed race Arabs after most of the real Moors left or was driven out of Europe, right? But really, you know, and like I say, I got a love-hate relationship with all of these etymology, you know what I'm saying? I fucking hate Google and shit, but I use them when I have to. The Moors were in Europe, was always a term for the indigenous people there, all right? Just like they called the people in, when they went to New Zealand, they called the people there the Morai, right? The Maori, and if you notice, if you go to New Zealand, the people that show you for the Morai or Maori, whatever the fuck they are over there, those are like they mix between English and fucking the different Aboriginal people, just like in Tasmania, which we'll go into later. And I'm gonna show you how this goes on all around the world and how these people constantly are trying to become us. It's on some single white female shit, right? Blackamoor, dark-skinned person, black-skinned African, 1540s from Black and Moor with connected element. And they called a lot of our ancestors here Blackamoors. They knew Moors over there, and when they came here, it was like, oh shit, these people are Moors too. Well, they're a little bit different. They're Blackamoor, meaning they're black like Moors. Alright, but then they'll tell you that Moors aren't black. So we look at the verb for black, circa 1200s, to become black, early 14th century, to make black, darken, put a black color on, from black adjective, especially to clean and polish by blackening them or brushing them, right? Noun, from late 14th century as dark spot people with eye, meaning dark skinned person in Africa, and blackamoor, meaning black clothing. All right, you know, so when you look at black, really ain't nothing good coming out of it. It's all gloomy and shit. So you have to start asking yourself, you know, if I look at, you know, Africa and shit, you know what I'm saying? I mean, when I look at the word black, you know, it's always in a kind of a condescending, kind of an evil, gloomy term. So when I'm calling myself black, am I projecting these negative terms onto me? And because everybody thinks everything black magic, you know, black death, black plague, all this shit is being like evil shit, does not contribute to the stereotypes and the projection that we put on ourselves. And can we really get mad at other black people from around the world who do not want to identify with being black? Or they the ignorant ones who can't see? Or is it our asses here in America who are the ignorant ones? All right, so I always go through this shit with white people that there's no such thing as an Aboriginal white, right? Because I go stop this video right now and Google or white Aboriginals, and you'll see every fucking thing except for, you know, it's white Aboriginals. There's no such thing as a white Aboriginal. So I put in as Aboriginals black. The term black has been used to refer to indigenous Australians since European settlement, while originally related to skin color. The term is used today to indicate Aboriginal heritage and culture. You see what this shit is? It refers to people of such heritage regarding their skin pigmentation, because these motherfuckers want to be the Aboriginals and have a tie to the land. All right, and a lot of this shit, you know, Jordan Peele, man, with that Us movie, I just got a chance to see it yesterday. I don't watch much movies and shit, but seeing Jordan Peele's Get Out and the good job he did with that, and really I think I might do some video on Get Out and Us and how it ties into, because this motherfuckers come out here, they show this shit. It's obviously has, you know, racial tones in it and shit like that. But I can really break it down to an Aboriginal point, the same way I did with what you call it, the Black Panther. All right, I mean, just look at how there's a million Wakandas here in America and none in Africa. It's a fake country in Africa, but there's a million towns named Wakandas, including a Chicago suburb. Again, millions of niggas in Chicago running around looking for Wakanda, and it's fucking 30 minutes to the north of y'all niggas, man. All right. But they telling you right now that, yeah, we used to, just like what the term America means, right? Oh, it used to apply to the Aboriginals, but now to any white, it's the same shit in Australia. You know what I'm saying? You gotta look at these countries like Australia, South Africa, and shit like that. Well, South Africa, they really ain't trying to be the black man, but they just tried to, like, you know, like they did to us here. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't have all these other groups there. See, the one thing that America worked is because you had the Mongols in the West, and you had different groups of blacks and copper colors in the East Coast, right? So because you had so many different groups of people already here in America prior to white men coming here, it was easy for them to pick and choose who they wanted to recognize as being the Aboriginals of the land and shit, right? So they totally subjugated us on the East Coast, east of the Mississippi, told us that we from Africa because we look like the people from across the sea in fucking Africa. Just like the other half of the country looks like the people on the other side of the Pacific, right? It's just, you know. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is this is something that goes on in a lot of countries, especially out there in Australia, New Zealand, Tasmania. They wiped out the motherfuckers, and now, which we'll see later, the groups of white people who claim to have a little bit of Aboriginal blood in them, now they want to be considered the full Aboriginals. You understand? So this is how we can make a case to people. Instead of this reparation shit, you gotta show when you go to these courts and shit how this is going on in Australia and other countries. So it's not far-fetched that this shit happened here. Okay? The symbolic meaning of the flag colors, because I put what color are Aborigines? It just says is black. Represents the Aboriginal people of Australia, right? So black and Aboriginal, or the skin color brown, really dark brown or whatever, always applies to the Aboriginals. So that means, and I always say this all the time, you dig deep into Asia and you'll find out that the Mongol is not the Aboriginal of Asia. All right. So if the Mongol is not the Aboriginal of Asia, how can you call the Mongol the Aboriginal of America? When, no matter if you believe in that land bridge bullshit, because like I said, if you just read Fu Sang, or the invasion of the Mongol, the conquest of America is by the Mongols with the elephants in the 1300s. You read those two books, and they clearly tell you that China and all these other, really Cathay and Genghis Khan's people and shit like that. They were sending settlers here from Asia to cross the Pacific to settle on the islands and eventually settle in the west coast of Americas. And they was pretty much held to the west of the Mississippi because they couldn't defeat the black nations. You know what I'm saying? And they did a lot of this after the fall of Khalifa and them and shit. But let's continue. Front page: the curse of the white Aboriginal. When black is white, race is fiction, and free speech is a crime. All right. America is an island of free speech and an ocean of political correctness. American colonists have to worry about deadlines in the future. A print media not about being holding the call over sensibilities of some protection group. But conservative colonists in Canada, Europe, Israel, Australia have to write with an eye on the keyboard and the other on the door. But the strangest case of free speech suppressed by political correctness may have come out of Australia, where Harold's son, colonist Andrew Bolt, was dragged into court under the Racial Discrimination Act by a group of white Aboriginals who complained that he had questioned authenticity. The first rule of White Aboriginal Club is that no one talks about it. Australia has a surplus of white Aborigines who hold down university positions. Wasn't my man Donald Trump talking about this shit? What's her name? Elizabeth Warren, or as she's more better known, Pocahontas. You know what I mean? Y'all niggas don't like Trump, man, but secretly Trump the only nigga that's working for you. Aight? You know what I'm saying? Because who's telling you that Trump ain't working for you? Obama? The nigga who he'll jump on that gay fucking reparations quicker than he jump on your reparations. If you ain't getting no reparations under Obama, why you think you gonna get reparations now? Hey, let's put our thinking caps on, niggas. What's wrong with y'all? Alright? So again, like motherfucker said, the first rule of white Aboriginal Club is no one talks about it, alright? It's like Fight Club, nigga. Keep that shit on hush. And receive all sorts of preferential treatment. All right, these white Aboriginals are not albinos. They are called Ward Churchills, white men and women who claim to be Aborigines because of some ancestor. And to question their authenticity, all you need is a working pair of eyes. I like to buy the guy who wrote this article a beer, man. Ward Churchill got away with claiming to be Native American by braiding his hair, wearing sunglasses, and being so militant that no one questioned whether he was American Indian or an American imposter until he had tenure and a nationwide speaking tour denouncing the white man's crimes against his people. The white Aboriginal faces more uphill battle against common sense, as it's rather hard not to notice what he is, or rather what he isn't. It's forced Australian left to play the old game of the emperor isn't really naked if no one talks about it. Everyone knows that many of the beneficiaries of Aboriginal affirmative action are white people with European names. What does that sound like? Sounds like here. And no one is supposed to notice that or comment on it. Andrew Bolt did not notice and wrote several columns, adding a few photos of melanin-challenged tribesmen. It was a sore point for the Australian left, which has made Aboriginal rights a centerpiece of its identity and whose Ward Churchills benefit from academic and cultural prize granted to them by a guilty Australia. So, Ward Churchill, if you don't know, was a white guy who was running around doing the Elizabeth Warren thing. Got tenure at colleges and shit. You know what I'm saying? Was going around talking shit about the white man, just braid his hair, started wearing the Indian tie and shit. You know, nobody really questioned it because how he looked like a Hollywood Indian. You know, as we know, Iron Eyes Cody, whatever, that nigga was a Sicilian. But he's the face of the American Indian. Probably because he got that Sicilian nigga nose. You know what I'm saying? So we know the Australian Aborigines are back as fuck, right? So if they call their white people who pretend to be Aboriginals Ward Churchills, if Ward Churchill could pass for American Indian and did so for many years here in the United States, then I believe other countries and other people in other countries are 100% knowing of who the true Aboriginals of this country is. And until we put pressures on other governments like Australia, maybe South Africa, whatever, to recognize and denounce the United States for its actions of not only usurping and pillaging the lands of the true Aboriginals of America, but then forcing them to take the titles of another people and then hold them in subjugation because of that, and then not telling them who did, because we didn't, obviously I didn't understand the laws of these devils and shit. But we don't have to put pressure on this government from other governments. I'm pretty sure Russia and China would love to bankrupt this country by forcing them to have to pay some kind of reparations out. That's the way you do it. You're not going to do it from saying that you're African, because the rest of the world knows you're not African, but it's not their duty to tell you that. So we're looking fucking ass backwards stupid with these dumb niggas like Tariq Nasheed and all these fucking Professor Black Truths and Jason Blacks and all these dumb niggas and shit like that keep pushing that narrative. And again, these niggas are pushing a narrative because that's what they're paid to do. That's what they're supposed to do. You dig? As Tariq Nasheed would say. But it says, I'm not even gonna read this whole article because you can pretty much get where they're going with this. All right, the members of a group this is funny as fuck, referred to as fair-skinned Aboriginal persons who, by a combination of descent, self-identification, and community recognition, are. You know what these people are doing? The UN drip shit. Really, that shit can come and backfire on motherfuckers, because a lot of white people can say, well, yeah, I can self-identify with being American Indian. So if you got black people doing that and you got white people doing that, who is this white government gonna fucking, if they had to choose a group of people to fucking give the money to? So you understand how the UN is also complacent in this? Because everybody wants to talk about this undrip, the UN drip, the drip and shit like that. Cool. But we all self-identifying as being American Indians. And you got white people all over the world, claiming to be Aboriginals of these lands too and shit like that. But who, when they go to court mostly, don't even need paperwork or nothing to prove this shit or whatever, and they get that solidarity and get that and get to self-identify, whereas they tell our black asses that no, y'all from Africa. And as long as we have 2/3 of the black population still believing that they from Africa, this shit is never gonna go nowhere. And that's how it's designed to be. Fair-skinned Aboriginal person had become the newest protected class and race. It was now completely subjected. This article fucking hurts. I might have to go into this again. Again, American definition, 1570s, originally one of the Aboriginal peoples discovered in the Western Hemisphere by Europeans. All right, remember, Aboriginal, we already proved Aboriginals are black. Before we go, we're gonna go into this article by the Telegraph in the UK. I like reading papers and stuff from other countries. They tend to be less biased. All right. So Telegraph, it says Tasmania embroiled in dispute over white tribe of Aborigines. You see, So we going just a little bit south in Australia to Tasmania. A bit of debate over what it means to be Aboriginal is raging in Tasmania, the island where the first British settlers came close to wiping out an entire indigenous population. The dispute goes to the heart of the traumatic suffering of Aborigines, who numbered around 5,000 when the British reached what was then known as Van Diemen's Land in 1803. At stake is millions of dollars of public funds, including special education, grants, cheaper housing, healthcare, and legal aid. All right. So I love how us black folks or Aborigines and shit, how we're always begging, the government for shit, right? Because we're a bunch of lazy beggars and shit. But whenever shit's supposed to be given to us or repaired, or reparate, the act of reparation is given back to these indigenous populations. That's when these white fair-skinned people start coming out of nowhere and start cop blocking that for you, right? Because we're the ones who are lazy and don't, who just want everything for fucking free. So says the people who had a land where they was living at, even though they wasn't even the Aboriginals there. I don't know where the fuck you people came from and shit, without trying to be fucking like racist and shit, or like sounding really, dickheadish and shit. But hey, my channel is about Aboriginal rights and shit, so it is what it is. All right, my white friends. Again, until the 1970s, it was widely believed that the island's Aborigines had been destroyed by a combination of disease and frontier clashes with settlers, and was known as the Black War. Again, Aborigines are always black. Indeed, their personal annihilation was frequently cited in history books as the world's only wholly successful example of genocide. But while the last full-blood Aborigine died in 1876, left behind were many Tasmanians of mixed race. The result of Aboriginal women being taken as wives, sometimes forcibly, like 90% forcibly, by white soldiers, settlers, and convicts. After decades of hiding their origins or seeing it as a mark of shame, they now confidently proclaim their indigenous ancestry. In many cases, however, there are fair hair, blue eyes, and almost distinguishable from white Australians, unlike mainland's much darker Aborigines. And this is a problem they had in New Zealand too. They completely wiped out the indigenous population of New Zealand. Go look up the indigenous population of New Zealand right now on Google, and you'll be hard pressed to find somebody with a skin color darker than, who's a light skinned motherfucker? Like my man, these niggas is about as white as like, goddamn, who's somebody with, like Alicia Keys? You know what I'm saying? You'll be hard pressed to find somebody darker than Alicia Keys. All right. The fight has pitted Tasmania's main Aboriginal group, known as the Palawa, against a rival clan they dismiss as upstarts, the Liaputa, or Little River people. The Palawa claim that the Liaputa is a made-up Aboriginal name and that its members are white Australians who are only claiming to be indigenous in order to secure generous government handouts. They don't have a drop of Aboriginal blood in their veins, said Michael Marcel, legal advisor to the Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre, which represents 6,000 Palawa. They are fakes and claim to be Aboriginal or fanciful. A lot of white people see an opportunity to defraud the system by claiming to be Aboriginal. Same thing here in America, all right? The Palawa argue that they descend from the last surviving group of Aborigines who were removed to the windswept Fourneau Islands in the Bass Strait between Tasmania and mainland Australia in the 1830s, all right? The reason why I wanted to read those articles and stuff is to show you that they haven't paid reparations in Australia to the Aborigines there. They haven't done so in Tasmania, which is a part of Australia. They haven't done so in New Zealand, which they, like I said, they recognize only those mixed race people as the indigenous people. What I'm telling you is, if they haven't done it in these countries, what makes you think you're going to get it here? Number one. Number two, you're claiming to be something else. Your best bet is to get together and form an organization maybe even a corporation, who is a international corporation. I think all Aboriginals around the world who's under enemy occupation, whether you're in Australia here, whether you're in South Africa, any other African country that want to get down with this, in Asia, a lot of those in the jungle, that's where a lot of the Negritos are, where a lot of the blacks is at. A lot of lands in Asia, like fucking Philippines and stuff like that, the people who are running around now are not the original people of those islands. Same thing in Japan, the Ainu, you know what I'm saying? All Aboriginal people across the world, if you're hearing this shit, if you know some Aboriginals in Japan, if you know some Aboriginals in Thailand, if you know some in Cambodia, if you know some in fucking motherfucking Tasmania and shit, if you ain't South Africans listening to this shit, we need to team up, make a corporation here in America, or like corporated in Europe or some shit, and have ties in America, and bring a case together for all our groups. Together, separately, against the nations that exist now, against their parent nations. You have to bring a serious case. We have to show how the same thing is going on in all of these places. It's not just in the US, it's not just in Australia, it's in all of these fucking lands. Alright? And unfortunately, a lot of Aboriginal groups have been wiped off the face of the fucking earth. And now these people are trying to become those people. I'm showing you this so I'll let you know that when I tell you the story here, how it is, and how these white people walking around pretending to be you, and you're pretending to be an African, it's not far-fetched, because it's a story that goes on and on. Now, you should know by now, a treaty is the law of the land. The Constitution is not even considered a law of the land. The United States only have obligations to fucking treaties. The treaties are usually international shit. The United States does not give a fuck about its citizens. It gives a fuck about their business holdings across the world. You understand what I'm saying? Because I don't want to repeat myself. I want some bigger shit right now, alright? You have to know who you are. You have to claim a nationality. African American is not a nationality. Black is not a nationality. You have to claim a nationality. There's dozens of treaties out there the United States are not following because the people they put in charge of those groups that they had treaties with are not forcing them to do so. And that's the whole point. Because those treaties were made to protect you. They were made with your ancestors. They reneged on that. And they owe money for that. And that could be brought to the fucking UN court. That could be brought to the Hague. You can't sue the United States government, but you can make force the UN to give up to make the United States give up money and all this other shit. But you have to do it as some kind of nation group or something. You can't be all wishy-washy and shit with this. There's no proof that you came from Africa. That's why they're showing you that Clotilda fucking sticks in the mud, telling you that's one of the ships you came off of. The motherfucker was a lumber ship. I pulled that in my last videos. Go check out my Clotilda video.
Purchase your tracks today.
It was a lumber ship, 60 feet long. And they claim to have over 100 people on that ship, and that's not even including crew and provisions. The ship from Africa on a 60-foot ship. 80-foot ship. It's a very small ship. It's smaller than the average apartment. I couldn't even fit 100 people in my apartment right now. You want to tell me to put 100 people in that shit? You gotta stop being dumb niggas. It's Action Jack. You already know.
Purchase your tracks today.
Stay tuned to Action News Network, man.